All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this month's Eloqua user group meeting. We've got a great agenda for you today. I'm excited to have everybody. Here's some of the topics that we're going to go through today. We're going to do a little bit of wakeboarding. I'm just kidding, but I love this picture here. Hope everybody's enjoying your summer. Keep going here. So here's me. I'm your host for today. I'm Karin Pindle, or KP. I've been at Sojourn for the last 6 years. We help customers with Eloqua, Marketo, Pardot, and their marketing operations and thinking about strategies to get the most out of their MarTech and their team. But anyway, my experience has been spending the last 16 years in marketing, 2 years before that in sales at a little company back then called Under Armour. And fast forward, I've been doing this Eloqua user group for over a year now. It was mainly driven by the pandemic. Like, people still wanted to get together for Eloqua user group meetings, but we couldn't in person. And in February of last year, I went to my last in-person Eloqua user group meeting in Boston, which hopefully will get going again in different cities. I'm sure there are some who have already restarted those. But anyway, I've got a lot of Eloqua experience. We've got folks on this call who are going to present to you that have a lot of Eloqua experience, Carmen and others. So we're going to hopefully help you guys get some tips, some hacks, some info on Litmus and what the awesomeness that is that it can bring to your Eloqua emails. But anyways, those are some of my pups. We are in Nashville, and that's in our backyard. So here's the official agenda. Really quick, I'm going to walk through some reminders for you guys. To me, as an Eloqua user, there's so much stuff to try to as an Eloqua user, what do I need to stay on top of? Well, that's my job. I take it as hosting this to make sure I share with you guys what the stuff is that you want to keep top of mind. Then I'm going to pass it over to the Litmus team. They're going to present about their app for Eloqua. So you could go on the Oracle Cloud Marketplace today and add it to your Eloqua. So it is going to be for testing emails. So if you think Eloqua's email testing is a little bit lacking, it is. So they'll walk you through the benefits and why to use their app. And then I'm going to myself present to you guys some tips related to Apple's email privacy change, with it not tracking email open starting in September, if people enable that on their Apple device, whether it's a Mac, a desktop, iPad, iPhone, maybe one of those things. So I'll touch on that. And then Carmen's going to take it over from there and share some clever Eloqua hacks. So Carmen has presented at past Eloqua user experiences, user groups, and what's it called? Customer experiences. So big Oracle events, and gotten really good reviews from people with sharing her hacks. So she's going to just share 2 of them for today. We're going to try to keep her presenting hacks here and there with these user group meetings so you guys can understand some cool things you can do with Eloqua that you wouldn't know if somebody didn't tell you. Like, they're not shared on the help center, for instance. So they're pretty neat. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. By all means, if anybody has any questions throughout this meeting, feel free to pop them into the Q&A. That's the easiest place for us to keep track of them. If you put them in the chat, we'll still try to answer it, of course. And then last but not least, we are recording this, so we're going to send it to you later today. If you have to buggy out early from this meeting, no worries. I guess you can tell them from the Northeast when I say buggy out, like Amish people have buggies and they buggy. Anyway, so we will send you the recording later today, and also for people like next month if you can't come, and if you still register, we'll send you the recording. So, all right. So quick reminders. First things first, the Oracle Marquee Awards. If anybody on this call is a finalist, please put that in the chat. I would love to know, and congratulations if anyone is. And just so you know, the winners will be announced July 27th. So that's next Tuesday at 10 Central. I looked all over Oracle's site to figure out where they'll be announced. Like, is there a Zoom location or something to register for? Litmus is a finalist. Sam, Jess, Justin, that's awesome. So congratulations to the Litmus team for being a Marquee Award finalist. It's not easy. It's quite the challenge to get selected as one of the finalists. So that's freaking awesome. But hopefully you guys win next week. Hopefully we'll find out you guys are one of the winners. So if I find out where they're going to announce the winners, I'll let you guys know. I have a feeling it's just going to show up on that page, the Marquee Awards page, which I'll pop up really quick here. So they keep this up to date ish, but basically You can see, previous years, like the gallery, and I think you can dig through here and find like 2020 winners. Sometimes it's helpful to actually read through details about the finalists and the winners and what their story was that earned them the marquee. But anyway, lots of categories, lots of companies. They actually made it 5 finalists, I think, for every category now. Yeah, so it used to be 2 and then it was 3, and now it's looks like at least 4 or 5 finalists. I guess they're having a hard time deciding. So anyway, it lets more people get recognition, which is great. So just be ready for that, and good luck to the Litmus team with winning. Another big thing happening for us Eloqua users is the 3rd release of this calendar year for Eloqua. The release means new features, bug fixes, mainly those 2 things happen to Eloqua. So this 21C release is happening in August. So it depends on what pod you're on. So I'll open up our Eloqua instance for you guys. The way you can tell your pod is once you're logged in, you've got this P that stands for pod, and then the number of your pod. So we're on pod 3. So that's the easy, quick way to, not really a hack, that's a tip, I guess, to find out when your release will hit your Eloqua instance. And actually on Tuesday at the same time, this is kind of funny, at the same time as the Marquee Awards are being announced, the Eloqua product team is going to go through the new features and fixes in the 21C release. So I would recommend, I'm going to actually put this into the chat. So if you haven't registered for it, you can go to that webinar with the, let me put here, Eloqua new release webinar. I like going to them, or at least registering and get the recording. They do share it on the Eloqua Release Center as well. So if you don't register, you can still watch it. But they do a nice job pretty quickly walking through the main new things to look at in Eloqua and what they're fixing. So I think it's useful to attend. And if you can attend in person, you can always ask a live question. So that's helpful. And then last but not least, these 2 quick things here. Free training. There's always free training to get into learning more about Eloqua with the Help Center. There's videos there. Most of them are hosted on the Oracle and the Eloqua section of their YouTube channel. Oracle University has some free courses that are just on-demand courses. If you want to take more than their Eloqua Explorer free courses, you have to have a paid subscription, aka license, which you'd have to ask your Oracle rep for what the cost is. I think it's like a couple $1,000s per person per year, something like that. And then we always post these Eloqua user group meeting recordings on our website. So this is a location on Sojourn's website. So if you want to watch a couple months ago, what, one of the topics might have been of interest to you, so you can go back there. Like last month was Motiva AI. If you want to go rewatch that or watch it for the first time, those are always available on our website. So we will post this recording there today or tomorrow as well. So, all right. So with that, I am going to hand it over to the Litmus team with Sam, Jess, and Justin, who are going to, like I mentioned earlier, share with us lots of good details about their email testing app for Eloqua. So let me stop my sharing.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hi, everyone. I am Jess Materna. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Litmus. So today, myself and my colleagues, Sam and Justin, are just going to talk a little bit about, the why behind what we do here at Litmus, the importance of email testing, share a couple of success stories, especially that we've seen with Eloqua users, and then Justin's going to give a demo of how Litmus works alongside Eloqua. So before we get started, I think it's just important to recognize that we are really living in this zero patience economy. The average consumer sees 5,000 ads in just a single day. And because of all of that noise, that digital noise and otherwise, they tend to just tune out. So as marketers, I'm a marketer, but as marketers on your end as well, everyone knows that the ultimate goal is to cut through that clutter, get that attention, and get the right customer experience out there and get your message heard. So all marketers are trying to create campaigns, email campaigns or otherwise, that really break through that noise. But a challenge can be that, with all the different channels we have going on, there's a lot of different tools to jump between to get those high quality campaigns to market. And that's one challenge that we hope our integrations with Oracle Eloqua can actually help solve. Before we jump into our integration though, why is it important to test every email with Litmus? What's the importance of testing, at a high level? First, we know that every email has 300,000 plus different possible renderings. I was going to say an infinite number of renderings because it feels like that sometimes. But depending on the client, the device, the environment, dark mode or light mode, there's a number of different ways that an email can render. It's not always just what you see when you're building it. And then in addition to that, email apps and devices are changing all of the time. We actually looked at, over just one quarter, the top 3 apps made 45 updates or an update every 2 days. So they're changing, as you're building new emails, those are changing, your emails are changing. So it's really important to test before every send because of those factors. And ultimately, emails that don't look good, that don't come across the way that you design them, they're either going to get deleted pretty quickly, or folks can even, I think up to 15% of users even have said that they would unsubscribe or have unsubscribed when emails come across broken. So Litmus has a couple of advantages when it comes to email testing. We actually offer testing on over 100 popular email clients and devices, and the ability to see, where your customers are, where they're reading, what devices they're using, so you can make sure you're testing in the right environments. We're often first to market with support for new operating systems and devices. So, as soon as those phones hit their hands, those new iPhones, we're ready with previews. We really strive to be quick to support those. Our previews render in seconds often, not minutes, so they're not going to slow down your workflow. You're still going to be able to get, emails to market with the same speed or faster. And we are really focused on continually innovating on ways that we can help email marketers see better ROI from email. We have some great security features and have earned some trust accolades like our SOC 2 Type 2 certification. And we have some awesome thought leadership and teams that can really help you get the most out of Litmus from a testing perspective and otherwise. So I'm going to hand it over to Sam to talk a little bit more about what we do outside of testing, and then share a few little tidbits about customer success.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jess. Sam Nichols here, Partnerships Director at Litmus. So just a couple more slides and then we'll pass over to Justin for the demo. So as you'll see when we get to the demo, we've embedded our preview or rendering functionality inside of Eloqua, which does require a Litmus Enterprise subscription. The part to highlight here is that that's just a fraction of the full end-to-end Litmus platform. Obviously in our platform directly, we have proofing capabilities, so collaborative tools, so that if there are 15 people involved with putting a stamp of approval on an email before it goes out the door, that's an efficient process, which historically it was not. Things like spam filter testing. So our philosophy is, can we solve spam, potentially deliverability type issues before an email goes out the door to save our clients a huge headache? We obviously don't send the emails out externally, but we do offer email analytics, insights that Jess mentioned a little bit earlier, not just who's opening the email, but are they engaged? And again, our philosophy there is an open by itself as a metric isn't super powerful, but if you can go a few layers deeper and determine who's engaged, who's not, did the email work across the desktop on Outlook, but it fell flat elsewhere. Those are good things to know that you can take back to your team that's building and testing the emails. Just in terms of our client base, here's sort of a little bit of a NASCAR slide, but some luck that we've had overlapping with Oracle. And I think the piece to highlight here, obviously Litmus has clients all the way from freelancers that come to our website to get access for, again, an individual or small team, all the way up through enterprise size organizations. And then again, within that, we are obviously sector and industry agnostic. So across the board in terms of the organizations that we serve. Just one quick sort of success story. We work closely with Zendesk, who's obviously an Oracle Eloqua client. And I think the piece to highlight here is just sort of eyeballing down to the bottom there around the results. They were really struggling with the time it takes not just to build and test the email, but the proofing of multiple team members. So gone back to them and done some analysis on how much time Litmus has helped save them. 3 hours on every email might not sound like a lot, but if you pull the string on that, in terms of the volume of emails that Zendesk is sending out to their subscribers and users, lots of time savings there. And what we like to double down on is not just that 3 hour of time savings per email, but what can those Zendesk resources then be used for? Potentially more emails, different campaigns, other marketing initiatives. And then just lastly, obviously a few quotes here. I won't run through these, but obviously we'll share with Karin after the call this deck, some other case studies and quotes. But we've had good luck, obviously working closely with the Eloqua team and have been able to pass on some success to end users. So I'll pause there in the interest of time and pass over to Justin, who's just going to run through a quick demo of Litmus inside of Eloqua.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute in the Zoom window. Thank you, Sam. So short and sweet demo for everyone. Today, we are inside of my Eloqua instance. And so when you get the Eloqua app inside the Cloud app drawer, you'll see it there available on every email to test. And pretty easily, you just click. It's going to run all the email previews that you've selected for your account. We support over 100 different email clients right now. When I talk about email clients, each individual one of these email screenshots is for one client. So Alpha Mail 13, Alpha Mail 14, dark mode, light mode, all that. We give you the ability to test inside of these. You can scroll through very easily and see your previews on any of the devices that are relevant to the project at hand. As Jess was talking about before, you saw that loaded up pretty instantaneously. Right there in the Cloud app drawer. So anything that you're going to want to be able to test for your audience or for any reason is always going to be there. And then just additionally, I believe we spoke about this last time as well. We do have a Chrome extension as well. Similar functionality. On top of the previews, we're also going to be able to check other things like subject line and links and images and make sure those are all loading correctly as well. So while the previews load up, I can show you a few of these things, but all of them kind of as a spot check for a nice, easy QA right there within your Eloqua email. I can stop there unless there are any questions.
All right, if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat or the Q&A. And we have Litmus here with us through the end of the meeting. So if you guys think of something specifically maybe for what Justin just showed in Eloqua, feel free to pop it into the Q&A or chat. All right, we'll give people a second here. And then I don't know, Sam or Jess, did you guys have a few more slides to go through? Is that pretty much everything?
That's pretty much everything. Obviously just wanted to keep it at a high level in terms of sort of where we fit into the sort of email marketing ecosystem. Obviously we've got a wealth of additional resources that we can share in terms of videos, one pagers. So we're happy to share those after the call. And then again, if the questions don't arise today, that's absolutely fine. We're happy to connect directly offline. We'll share all contact information with Karin to be shared externally.
Cool, thanks, Sam. And there actually were a few questions. Stephanie asked, can you run the app on landing pages?
No, it'll only be inside of the emails. I mean, technically it's pulling HTML off the page and running previews there, but the previews are rendered by email clients. So we generally would not recommend it.
Okay. Another question that came through, I'm going to do the chat first, and I'll go over the Q&A from Adam. So just to confirm it, if we already have a Litmus access, we can use the Eloqua app with the same Litmus credentials. Is that right?
Yeah, so Adam, I'll take that one. It would just depend on what level of Litmus subscription you have access to. So this piece of functionality, our previews inside of Eloqua is reserved for enterprise level subscription. So happy to talk offline or reach out to me and I can confirm whether or not you have that access, and if not, what getting it would require.
All right, thanks, Sam. And then Aaron in the Q&A popped a question. Do you still need to install Litmus to the Eloqua instance if you want to use the Chrome app? My guess is no, but
No, you do not.
okay. And then, and she said, and can you show the approval process that Litmus adds?
Yeah, Sam, you can take that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just based on time, Karen, we'd probably hold off on doing that just because it requires going into the Litmus app and showing proof, but we're happy to connect with folks. Happy to carve out other time to do sort of a deep dive on the Litmus proofing capabilities and a deeper dive on checklists. So I might take that up offline, but happy to show it to anybody.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Sam. All right, I think that's it. Let me double check here, Joel. Somebody else on a question. I noticed you were using the HTML email builder versus the responsive drag and drop email editor in Eloqua. Does it work with both editors?
It does, yeah.
Perfect. Good questions, guys. Okay. All right. And if anybody thinks of anything else, by all means, please enter it in the Q&A or chat, and we'll keep an eye out there. Next up, let me share my screen again. So thank you again from the Litmus team. So if anybody is not using their app for testing emails or the Chrome plugin, ultimately it's using their functionality for email testing, I highly recommend it. When I was using Eloqua, it was painful to get responses from recipients who, they clearly got an email that didn't look professional. And while I tested it, you can only test so much. Like, you don't have all the capabilities of what Litmus has built over the years and stays current on. So, and keep in mind, like Sam was kind of indicating there, this is one sliver of what they do. So there's a bunch more that Litmus does that is helpful, very specifically with email marketing. I follow their blogs as well, just to keep on the know with certain things in the email marketing world. Speaking of which, in the email marketing world, Apple's email privacy change is rattling people's brains and things on how to adapt to it rather. So what I want to share with you guys are just some tips to think about. So if you don't know what Apple's email privacy change is, basically, if somebody has an Apple device, say like an iPhone like I have, what's going to happen in September with the new release of the Apple operating system is users of like the phone I have will have to opt in for their, I forget what the message is, but basically it won't track opens anymore when you send somebody an email. Like if I open up an email in my Apple Mail here, it won't track it if I've told my phone not to track anymore, like protect my privacy, which the experts are estimating that most Apple users will actually choose to remain private. So basically that means if you're sending your emails to people who have Apple devices, who are opening them on Apple devices, that's the email client, then you likely won't have a true open. And there's different things as well. So this has been a long debate for years with customers we've had. And for me, open rates, when I was a marketer, that was one of the first things we looked at to see the success of our email going out, or emails. But over the years, there have been lots of things changing with email clients, the way they receive emails. And in some cases, it gets opened by call it like a spam filter is kind of the easiest way to think about it, before the recipient gets it in their inbox. So before I even open it on my device, for instance, my Sojourn corporate spam filter could open it to make sure it's safe and then kick it into my inbox. So there's technologies like that out there that have been doing this for a long time, for years. And now Apple's email privacy change is the most upfront, like basically your opens won't be tracked. Or if some of them do, like that situation I just mentioned, it'll be a false open. It won't really be a human being opening it. So in general, we typically recommend to our customers as much as possible to not use the email open as a metric for your campaigns. However, let's just start from the top here. So my first recommendation to you guys is educate yourself on this change. I'm giving you some tidbits of it. I would read from a few different sources. I wouldn't always just read one. I look at Fox News and I look at CNN, very different, right? Like Republican, Democrat, holy moly. I try to expose myself to the two extremes because I feel like I'm right in the middle. Well, with work stuff, same thing for me. Like I try to understand, what is Oracle saying about this? They have a long-winded blog post. Litmus has a shorter, more to the point, to me, more understandable blog post. The Oracle one's good, I think, for people that are more technical. The Motiva AI blog post is more like Litmus's post, where it's like, here's the skinny on it. Here's what you need to know. Here are tips to navigate this change as an email marketer. So educate yourself. First things first, learn more about it. In September, we'll be here before we know it. So there are some things to do, like the next 3 things, ideally before September. So next thing is, what's the impact on your Eloqua instance? So I'm going to pull up Eloqua really quick and show you guys. You can run a dashboard, and you can also run an email open by mail client report and insight and see, of all your email recipients, say over 6 months, how many of them are actually opening an email on an Apple device. So let me pull up Eloqua quick here. I'm going to do the dashboard and email open by device. So this has a couple different things on it. Wait for it. I should have had it clicked on already, but here we go. Eloqua was opening really quickly for me earlier. Maybe I didn't click it hard enough. Okay. Keep in mind, it's going to default your filter. Mine defaults the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to bump this back to the beginning of this year. Just do January 1. So it's 7 months worth of email sends it's going to look through. And if you scroll down, again, a couple different things here, we can see Apple is about 16% of, well, mobile devices specifically. And then there's the pretty pie chart. I think that might be the opens. This is specifically what I was looking at earlier today. So Safari, that's Apple. The point in doing this is analyze how much of an impact this is going to have on your recipients based on your historical data of how many of them actually are using an Apple device or iOS, like Apple iOS, that will be impacted. So for us, it's about 17%. So that gives me an idea, and Kristen, our head of marketing, an idea of what we need to do to adjust there. It's not the majority of our email recipients. That's the good news for us, but still, the next 3 things apply. If you want to shift away, not just because of Apple's email privacy change, but because of the things I've mentioned already, there are various drivers to shift away from using email open. So this means going back and looking at any multi-step campaigns you have. If they're using email opens to feed people in as a part of a filter in that segment, feeding people in to a campaign, or as an automatic feeder, or used in a decision to figure out if somebody should go down the yes or no path. If you're using that email open activity, I would no longer do that. Again, for most people, this is not applicable to every single one of you. And I know some people are probably pooping their pants right now because you're so used to using email open. It is a shift. But we're going to see more email clients like those using Apple or companies like Apple, rather, that are going to have a similar setup. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Google does the same thing and others over time, like pretty quickly here. The next thing to look at in your Eloqua instance, if you have any simple campaigns using A/B testing, I wouldn't use email opens anymore. Now, again, I'm wanting to keep saying, take this with a grain of salt. So if your email recipients using Apple devices, that's a tiny percentage, maybe you'll be okay for a while, but we're just trying to help people shift away from email opens for not just analyzing campaigns, but for all of these other things as well that I'm going through. The third thing to look at in your Eloqua is, what segments do you have that are using email opens? There's not like a quick button you can click in Eloqua to find that out. So you're gonna have to go through your segments and your filters in those segments to identify what's using email opens and to ideally shift it to something like email clicks. Lead scoring, if you have a lead scoring model or more than one active right now and you're scoring off of email opens, I wouldn't do that no matter what your database looks like, just because, again, we have false opens that happen because of how spam filtering can work. So those are 4 key things that when I first kind of wrapped my head around this, I'm like, what do we need to do in our Eloqua instance? So your multi-step campaigns using email opens in any fashion, your simple campaigns with A/B testing using email opens, shift away from that. Your segments, really it's the filters that use that activity of email open. You want to get away from that, or not open, that's another activity. And last but not least, lead scoring models using email opens. And then I kind of already mentioned this, the last thing here is analyzing campaigns. Really better metrics to use are email clicks, conversion rates, better yet. Unsubscribe rate is an important rate to look at constantly, because if you have that rate increasing, there's something going on potentially. And sometimes you can narrow it down to it's that specific email type, like our newsletter, unfortunately, might be it. Or maybe it's our product specific emails that are just not resonating well and people are unsubscribing. It could be one email that's just, consistently, you have the same look and feel, but it's just increasing in unsubscribe rates. Anyway, the other, I don't have it listed here because you could keep going, but we look at the hard bounce back rate as well to make sure that, you're not creeping too high, like say above 3% with your hard bounce back rate, so that hurts your email deliverability. When your hard bounces are happening too much, you're basically sending your emails to invalid email recipients, people that are not really maybe working at a company anymore, or they gave you an incorrect email address, something like that, or you purchased it, maybe, hopefully not. But anyway, I would shift to focusing more on the email clicks, the unsubscribe rate, the hard bounce back rate, the conversion rates. And then beyond that, I mean, things like purchases, if you're sending a communication, like an email that you're trying to encourage people to use your product, if you can get product usage information, like if you have an app, then that's also helpful as well, to see that that email drove more activity by the users in the app, if you can connect the two, which is not necessarily easy, but it's possible. And then I think that's it for now with this topic. Let me look at the chat and see if there's any questions. If any questions come through on this, I'm not a legal or compliance expert, but I can reach out to people. But feel free to pop your questions in the chat or the Q&A. But the big message I want to give you guys is, regardless of Apple, others are going to do this. And like I said, historically, there have been other changes done by the email clients to keep marketing messages out of the recipient's inbox. So we've been slowly trying to get our customers to steer away from using email opens pretty much altogether, not just specific to Apple recipients. So someone asked, can I point us to any documentation on Apple's new privacy policy? So yes, these 3 links. So let me grab them really quick. I'll put them in the chat, and I'll also include them in my follow-up email to you guys. Hang on, I have to click on the right window here. I'm going to actually just put top these 3. All right, there you go. So I believe all 3 of those blog posts link to the official Apple email privacy policy. And you can get screenshots like of what does it actually look like when somebody, when this update happens with, say, iPhones, and what does it look like for the user? What do they have to do to stay opted in for you to track their opens on an iPhone, or the opposite? So they do suspect most people will want to check the option or select it and no longer have their email opens tracked when they use an Apple device. So, all right, that's it for this topic. I know there's a whole bunch more. You could spend like hours just talking about this, but we're not going to do that today. So I want to hand it over to Carmen Gardner. I've known Carmen for over a decade. She's a super duper Eloqua expert, and she joined Sojourn not too long ago. She's been a marketer as well, a practitioner at a couple different organizations. So she's going to specifically hone in on some Eloqua hacks today, but just want you guys to know you're hearing this from somebody who has a wealth of marketing experience and Eloqua combined. So we're honored to have Carmen share some of these cool hacks with you guys. So with that, let me stop sharing. And Carmen.
Thanks, Karin.
You're welcome.
Let me share my screen here. As Karin says, where are we? Am I sharing?
Yep.
Wrong one.
Oh, no, you're not.
Wrong one. Okay, one more time.
You're teasing us.
Well, I switched my screens this morning, and that was
Oh, yeah.
not a good idea. Okay, so what are you seeing here?
We can see your presenter mode, not the actual. There we go. If you click that sucker. Oh, now it's the 2 things side by side.
All right, we'll swap it. How about that?
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I've been around, as Karin says, I've been using Eloqua for 16 years in the corporate world and in the consultancy. And the thing I love about Eloqua is it's so extensible, it's so customizable that every day you learn something new about it. It's just a toolkit for you to use, and you can use it in new and unusual ways. And I could probably call these tips and tricks, but I like the word hacks because it's always more fun when you feel like you're getting away with something. So this first one is an oldie but a goodie. If you all have been using Eloqua for any amount of time, you know that your contact field limit is 250 contact fields, and you're probably bumping up against that often. So you need to delete fields to make room for other fields to use in your processing. And in order to do that, you need to delete dependencies. There may come a time when you've deleted all the dependencies you think you have, or Eloqua says you have, and you see this screen. You have 0 dependencies, so I can't delete your field. So we call these hidden dependencies because they're there, but the Eloqua interface isn't just showing them to you. So this hack will keep you from logging a support ticket in order to get support involved if you can find out where these hidden dependencies are on your own. So I'm gonna stop sharing real quick, or I'm sorry, switch this out of presenter mode and pull over Eloqua. So you're probably already in settings and fields and views when you do this, deleting dependencies on fields. And when you find that error message, what you can do is try to dig into the Eloqua 9 version of this interface, because the Eloqua 9 version of this interface will give you more dependencies than the Eloqua 10 may. So we're going to do that with 3 easy steps. We are going to uncover the code behind this page by using your keyboard Control U. I do that because in some browsers you can't right click on this page. And the thing we need to grab to get to the E9 interface is this token right here, this cross-site security token. This is specific to your session and your instance. So we're going to copy that right there. And what we're going to do is plug it into a URL, a custom URL right here that has 2 variables. The token that you just copied goes here, and your pod number goes here. So Sojourn is pod 3. So we're going to copy and paste the token here. Then we're going to move on over to the pound sign and replace that with a 3. And there's my formula for getting into the Eloqua 9 version of this page. Okay, so here we are. And you can go to the Fields tab, find the field that you're trying to delete. Let's say duplicate contact. And then choose from the edit drop down check dependencies. And what this will do is it'll show you things that E10 might not show you, like deduplication handlers, auto syncs, certain auto syncs, archive program builders, all of those steps that are typically reserved for the E9 interface. So from here, you can see them, go look them up and delete them. But sometimes there's this delete box that's red, and you can delete it directly from here. Questions? Right. That's great. Okay, so we have it all here. So that's a good one. You don't need it until you need it. But if you run into it, if you can remember this and pull it back up, it'll help. The second tip or trick or hack that I have involves insight reporting. Insight reporting is very robust, but it has some limitations. And this is really just a way to use insight reporting in a new way. The use case I use it most for is tracking list performance. That's really important to me. When I was working on the corporate side, we would spend a lot of money on third-party audience data, especially with COVID, when you can't go into an event and meet people face-to-face. You have to kind of get people in your database in some way. So we purchased a lot of lists, and demand gen would always come to me and ask me, was it worth it? Should I invest in that again? And reporting on the first email you send to a purchase list is pretty easy because you've got them all in a little group. You may send a specific email to that specific group, and you can get metrics on it that way. But as time goes on and those people become parts of different segments and different groups, then it's really difficult to track their ongoing interaction with you as time goes on. So demand gen wants to track that, and you want to deliver it. You can track that list audience source in a contact field, but we only have 250 of them, and we really don't want to sacrifice a contact field to track that information. And if you're buying a lot of lists, there's always the risk that you can overwrite the data in that field over time if any of your lists intersect. So we're just going to use some reporting on a contact list to do this. So the first thing you want to do is save your purchase list or get your purchase list in a contact group, your Zoom info industry lists, your lean data lists, all of those, your D&B lists, just put them in a contact group and it'll be easier to report on. So what we'll do is just show you a quick demo of how you can do that. If I can get the right screen up. All right. So here in Insight, we're just going to create 2 reports. We're going to create one report, a quick report that's going to serve as a filter for another report. So we're creating a new contact list report. So you can save your list in a contact list. More than one is fine, as what we're going to do is just use the contact list as a filter. But here, we want to grab the email address just so we kind of know who these people are as an identifier, and then create a filter here for the contact list name. Not sure why it's not ID driven, but it isn't. And I created one with my name to make this a little easier. And so here's my contact list. And we're just going to say OK and save it in my folders, not to muddy the waters. Filter list. Okay. And this is really just getting all of your contacts together. It's reproducing that contact list with email addresses. So now that we've done that, we can use this report to fuel a second report. I'll go ahead and leave. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel here. We've got an email analysis overview report we can use, so we're just going to edit it. Save as, because I really don't want to overwrite the original. And here we are. And all we need to do to this report to only show metrics for the people in that contact group is add a filter here, looking at the email address that we have as the identifier in the previous report. And the operator here is interesting. It's the only operator that's hidden at the bottom of this pick list. You'll notice if you scroll down, you can base the filter on another report that you generated. And that saves the problem of worrying about if you add more than one table to this report, whether or not they have fields in common. This is a good workaround for that. So here we're going to find that report. That filter list I just created to get my people together is equal to the email address, and this report is equal to the email address in the contact list report we created. And let's see what the results are. So unfortunately, Insight limits you to using contact lists if you're going to do a static list. There is a segment variable you can use, but I found that typically only pertains to whether you're using that segment in a campaign, and it doesn't pertain specifically to the people within that segment at times when you're doing email analysis. So here is my list, had a couple hundred people in it. This is certainly not all the sends we have sent to people. Let me move this out of the way. But these are all the emails we've sent to that specific set of people, the Zoom info list. We can see what all of the metrics are here for you. And at the very bottom, you actually get a roll up of the metrics as well. So you can bump those up against your corporate benchmarks to answer that question of, well, the first send didn't do well, but over time, the Zoom info list is getting more and more engagement as we're giving them different topics that may resonate. And here you can also tell which topics do resonate with the different audience, with the audience that you have. And ta-da, that's it. So there you go. Questions?
We did have Sally asking a couple questions. She did ask if we could send for that first hack the formula for the link to Eloqua 9. And
yeah, that'll be in the deck, right? That we send out.
Yep. What I'll do, guys, is I'm going to combine the slides from Litmus and Carmen's. And what I'll do is include that as a PDF link to the follow-up email. So you can grab all that juicy stuff right from the follow-up email. And then there was one other question from Erin. Are there other E9 interfaces still accessible? Do you have any other URLs? She said that's weirdly exciting.
I know. I was weirdly excited as well. I love that. I love that turn of phrase. Unfortunately, no, not really. Nothing that's going to get you any value. Nothing that works.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's just they've forgotten about it and they don't maintain it, but it still works for that one use case.
Yep. And I know there used to be other ways to sneak into Eloqua 9, which Oracle closed the door on. So
right.
Like they no longer work. I've only known about like 5 or so of these hacks over the years from Eloqua 10 to Eloqua 9. But this is the dependencies one, thankfully, is still there for who knows how long. But
right. We offer no guarantees.
Yes. Exactly. Cool. Any other questions for Carmen on these 2 hacks she shared? I don't think there are. Stephanie asked the same question that Sally asked. I think that's it for now.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Carmen. Really appreciate you doing this and showing us right in Eloqua as well. That's always nice to see. All right. Let's see. Any other questions just in general about anything Eloqua related? This is the time I can unmute people if you guys would like to ask your question. Check the chat and Q&A. I'll give everybody a minute here. We're a little bit ahead of time. Doesn't mean we'll take all 10 minutes, but let's just see. Oh, so actually, okay, so Sally put in another one. I don't suppose you've heard anything from Oracle about the future plans for dependency tools. I have not. If anybody from Oracle is on the line and wants to comment, let me know and I can unmute your line. But I haven't seen anything or heard anything on the roadmap for Eloqua about that. Because what Carmen just shared is a good hack, but ideally there'd be something directly in the interface that would make it a bit easier to remove. Well, ideally there wouldn't be hidden dependencies, for example. That would be a good solution right there, but I don't think anybody from Oracle specifically on the product team is here. Yeah, they've mentioned some things. I think with adding archiving to Eloqua, mass deleting in some areas, people are asking naturally the next step is managing dependencies better. And it sounded like Oracle was going to put that on the roadmap, but I haven't heard anything recently about that. But I have heard if anybody wants to do text messaging, not voice messages, automated voice messages, not in-app notifications or push notifications, but just text messages, that's on the product roadmap for Eloqua for 2022. I think they are starting beta testing later this year, or controlled availability, aka beta testing in my mind, but that'll be cool. We do have customers who want to do text messaging. I hope it's not a free for all. I mean, meaning you have to be careful doing it compliance wise, but also, I don't know about you guys, I don't love getting text messages from people I don't know. Now, obviously, if I'm a customer of yours and you text me, that's different, but I really, I don't know, don't love the idea of a lot of people using text messaging next, but it makes sense for certain businesses. For instance, higher education, if you have a student fill out an application, a lot of us will want to receive updates about that via text message. Or for me, another example, I got in a car accident a couple of weeks ago, nothing bad, just some guy on the highway took off part of our bumper on the new car, which was unfortunate, but he was very kind. So was the trooper. But I needed to contact my insurance company, Amica, and thankfully they were able to text me notifications when my claim had updates, not just email, but I could choose, do I want to be updated via email or text? And for me, because that's such an urgent need of mine, I really wanted to get the text messages. So depending on your business and how, your audience prefers to be communicated with, text messaging, obviously, in some cases is faster and easier for people because it's short and sweet, or hopefully it is. So, but the good news is Oracle has it on the product roadmap for next year. Calendar tool. So Christina asks, anything from Oracle for the roadmap for calendar tool within Eloqua for email planning? I wish. I have not heard anything about that. So the only thing you guys know, shoot, where is it? The homepage, campaigns, homepage, click campaigns. We have this linear view of our campaign activity. We can see completed this week, active, scheduled. Can't do anything with this. I mean, you can go to the campaign. I think if you click on it, it opens the campaign itself. But yeah, no calendar view. I don't think there's one coming. I haven't heard anything about it, but that's a great question for the product team as well. Other platforms have it. So, sorry, go ahead, Carmen.
I thought they had a new product coming out, maybe just this year, that helps with send time optimization.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
So STO, you're absolutely right. So send time optimization. I don't know if it'll have a
Subject
calendar.
Subject line, not recommendations, but kind of scoring.
Yep, there's a couple different features in it. So let me pop this up and I'll put it in the chat. My computer's a little slow here. So the Advanced Intelligence AI add-on for Eloqua, not artificial intelligence, advanced intelligence. It has a few cool features in it. It's like 4 categories of features. You can't pick one out and say, Oracle, can we purchase just the send time optimization add-on or the subject line optimization? That's coming later. You have to get the whole add-on, AI add-on. As of now, I'm hoping they change that down the road, and it doesn't come with any version of Eloqua. I'm going to pop this in the chat. So you can see here fatigue analysis, account intelligence, that's like geared towards ABM efforts for account dashboards, send time optimization, subject line optimization. So we get a lot of questions from our customers about, can we just do one of these or 2 of these, not all 4? We don't need all 4. We don't want all 4, maybe. The answer right now is no. You have to get, again, the whole add-on. But yeah, it is what it is. It is, though, what I will say for our customers who get this, it's super helpful because you have these 4 cool features to tap into. Even if you only use 3 out of the 4, there's a lot of value in my opinion, fatigue analysis. I mean, all of them are valuable. I don't want to discredit any of them, but a lot of people specifically related to email marketing are really focused on the STO and SLO, subject line optimization. So that's just something good to take a look at, but keep in mind it's an additional cost when you're either renewing Eloqua or you can buy it, I believe, anytime, but you have to find out the price from your Oracle rep. But this is one of those things that if I had a budget, if I could add something onto my Eloqua instance to improve things and get more value from Eloqua, this would be number 1, I think, on my list of add-ons. Assuming you don't have like deliverability challenges and stuff. So there might be other add-ons. There's a comment here. So Sally said, I'd be really interested if other users experience with it. It is very expensive. That's been the feedback from other users. We looked at it for our Eloqua instance, and it's out of our budget at Sojourn. Just to give you guys an idea, we got quoted list price $150,000 USD, but it was priced at like half of that. So that was just way more than we pay for Eloqua every year. So we just decided to pass on it for our own production Eloqua instance, so our live marketing at Sojourn. But that was about a year ago, so I don't know what the pricing is today. And it's just like anything, you know, I can say, oh, these are great features. It's how well you set them up. So, all right, I don't want to ramble on too much more about this. Let me see here. I think there aren't any other, let me see. In the Q&A. Any product info on the upcoming text messaging feature? Not yet, because it's not even out with controlled availability. Oracle hasn't published anything about it yet. So I have a friend on the product team at Oracle who shared that with me. He shared it with the partner group as well, but they haven't officially released anything yet. I believe they are going to announce the controlled availability this fall, but they're going to have to handpick people. You have to pay to do text messaging, no matter whether you have Eloqua, Marketo, or Salesforce Marketing Cloud. It's per text message is the way it works with the platforms, and Twilio as well, which is just mainly for mobile marketing. So you can't just like start using it and have no cost. It'll be then a cost, like it's usually cents on the dollar to send each text message. But if I find out or get a link to any information about the text messaging, I'll let you guys know. And then someone asked, for subject line optimization, it only compares against opens. It only compares opens against database. Yes, so Tanya, that was a good question. Since opens are becoming more and more rapidly unpredictable, I think Oracle did announce in their blog post about the Apple change that they're making changes to their algorithm for send time optimization. And I believe it is they will use email clicks instead of opens. Don't quote me on that. That would make the most sense though as well. Does the subject line optimization also consider email content? I don't believe so. So what I would say, these are great questions to get the 100% answer, because I'm saying I don't know for sure. I don't believe. I'm not saying concrete answers here. I would attend the Tuesday webinar that I sent the link to. That's the Eloqua new release webinar Oracle's Eloqua product team is putting on. These are questions you can ask there as well. They're awesome. And you'll get an answer hopefully right on the call, even if they answer it in the chat or the Q&A. That's your best bet. I could say I'll go chase it down for you, but Tuesday is a better opportunity to do that directly with the Eloqua product team. And otherwise I'll be chasing them, and they're probably more focused on their webinar prep. I think that's it. So we only have like less than a minute left. Just want to thank everybody for joining today. Shoot, I forgot to restart my video. I meant to be talking to you guys. Thank you very much for everybody for joining. Litmus folks, thank you guys for preparing and presenting today. Carmen, same thing. Thank you very much. If anybody wants to present next month, the month after that, anytime, please let me know. I'm always, I get stressed about it because it's not always easy to find presenters. So I'd really appreciate it. If any users want to present, that's awesome. It's the best case scenario for us. So just let me know. Otherwise, I'll follow up with you all later today with the recording and a couple other things we've shown today. So keep an eye out, and hope everybody has a nice rest of your Thursday and a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Karen. See ya.
Bye.